been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Is this on the minutes or?
On the minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Coger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenbach.
Aye. Approval of or additions to the agenda. Is there anything specific we want to add? Hearing nothing, we'll just continue. Next, we have public comments. We have Ed Hill here from Hope Initiative. Mr. Hill, would you like to come forward?
Everybody knows who I am. I'm here on behalf of Hope Initiative. During Mayor Jim Small's term, at his behest, Kathy Hamilton, Jeff Hunter, and Tricia Sled formed Hope Initiative. And from that time forward, our organization has benefited from the support of City Council, Mayor, City Administration. We have, among other things, created a standing housing committee that in turn responded to comprehensive housing study in 2014. The committee still holds a monthly meeting, agreed currently focused on the Castle Heights neighborhood. We have in the past organized neighborhood cleanups, and the city sanitation workers have provided the trash pickup. We have created pocket parks and community gardens, the latter of which are expanding to other neighborhoods. We have worked to develop a substance misuse prevention partnership and facilitated the organization of the LIVE Coalition. And through the efforts of the health department, they are now a standalone 501c3 organization and are doing great work. An early childhood education now consists of the Henry County Child Care Network, kindergarten, prep, and child care, both of which are standalone 501c3 organizations. These early childhood efforts were generously supported by the city and the subject of our formal thank you. And this letter.
Thank you.
The letter reads, to the Honorable Mayor Dort and the New York City Council. Hope Initiatives.
And the new Castle Council, not New York.
Did I say New York?
We want a bigger budget if that's.
Well, I'm sure they help.
Going high society.
Hope Initiative's Board of Directors would like to extend our sincere gratitude for your support of our mission to deliver a quality early childhood education system throughout our community. In providing $30,000 to our cause, we have in the ensuing years been able to equip and utilize a childhood training classroom, providing Childhood Development Association credentials, health and safety training, including the screening of the Raising of America series, Palooza, an early childhood make and take, and a host of other training offerings. The funding also allows us to pilot a Jumpstart program at Wilbur-Wright Elementary School, and can now report the program has been fully integrated throughout most of the school corporations in our community. Your commitment to the youngest and most vulnerable in our community cannot be overstated in its impact. The monetary commitment you made will pay incalculable dividends in the future lives of these young people, and by extension, the lives of everyone in the community. From the Hope Initiative Directors, thank you. We just closed out that, spent down that $30,000. And that's, we took a vote. I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys for what you
Thank
do.
you. Appreciate it.
Okay, anyone else like to come before the council? If you would, please state your name and address.
Hello, can you hear me okay? I've got this low voice, y'all know that. I've come here this evening and I discussed this a little bit with Jerry last Saturday. I live in what's a Jennings Edition, the east side of town. And I've got some of this history from one of my neighbors over there, Alex Pierce. And it looks like we started development there one time, and I think there was some issues with the infrastructure where we set in. The bottom line in that addition, and still on some maps it's referred to as 28th Street. And it's like a street that was intended one time to run through that division between State Street and Spring Street. And Alex, my neighbor, he's been mowing and taking care of that for a long time. He owns 6 of the lots back there. I've got a tax lien on one. So the reason I come here tonight is like to determine if that's going to stay like I call it an unofficial 28th Street, if that's the right term for it or not. And some of you may know more of the history of that development, that subdivision than I do. But the question is whose responsibility is that unofficial 28th Street, I call it. And is it going to remain open? Is it a part of the city? Is this an issue that I take for the county instead of the city? Because Alex, I think, would really like to have it just closed off. And because he mows it. Some folks drive down there if it's wet, cause a lot of rust and everything, and it makes for a rough mowing off his part. So I just come before you this evening asking that, whom should I go to resolve that. This is an issue with the ongoing process about separating the waste and sewer. I don't think anything's hooked up back there. I know there's a fire hydrant over there one time, a dry hydrant.
I think at this point in time, we need to research that because there was a fire hydrant put in. I don't think it met specifications, and so I don't think we'll have water there. We might have sewer going past it. Just this past week, we had a developer wanting to maybe develop some lots in there. So he would want 28th Street put in there. The gentleman that used to own it, Mr. Hall, and some other investors, financially, it went south on them, and it didn't get developed. And so I'm not totally 100% sure of what the stipulations are right now, but we would need to do some legal search on the property and the fire hydrant and the water back there. Greg and I talked about years ago, but it's been a long time since we've even discussed it. So now that you bring it to our attention, we need to address it and look at it. But there's some things that have already been approved, but like you say, because of the water table there, I don't know that there will ever be a road built. But with you bringing this up, we need to research it. So I'm not saying that we need to table it, but if you could give us time to do some research on it, I think that's where this lays right there.
Okay, I would appreciate that. I know Mr. Pierce would appreciate that. Mr. Pierce owns 6 of the lots back there. I've got a tax lien on one. I think Paul's morning owns a couple of other lots. So I don't know who would be seeking to develop that. I don't think Alex is. Some of us just kind of took control of those lots out. Self-prevention, didn't want the grandkids back there at one time getting poison ivy or snake bitten or anything. So some of us in the neighborhood just taking on responsibility.
There was someone on Brown Road that took on a couple of the lots also, and I'm not sure who that is at this point in time. I just can't remember. But
okay, well, thank you for hearing me out this evening. And
could you give me your phone number or call the office and give to Kendra?
Okay, I don't care. Give me my phone number.
Sure.
765
Yeah.
524 4271.
Okay. We'll do some research on it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And
Thank you.
nice seeing some of you familiar faces again.
And I'd like to suggest on top of that, if you don't know where it is, go over between 27th and 29th Street, and you can see how well Mr. Pierce and Mr. Abbott has taken care of that area. I'd hire them to do my yard in a heartbeat. It looks nice. It's, and they need to be commended on what they've been doing with it, so.
Yeah, there was a time when that was a pretty rough looking area.
It
back
was a real
when
rough
we were
area.
Growing up and everything.
So they need to be commended what they've done with the upkeep on that property through there, so. Thanks, Dave.
Okay. Are you
I'm
Carrie
Carrie Barrett
Barrett?
with Newcastle Main Street. I know you guys aren't familiar with me. And I'm here to present an exciting opportunity for the city of Newcastle. So recently, this grant opportunity was announced through Okra. It's called Preserving Main Street, and it's available only to communities that have Indiana accredited and nationally accredited main streets. So that is one of the reasons why we seek to be nationally accredited, because you're in the running for more opportunities. But this is a $2 million grant, and it's meant to provide a historic preservation ethic within your downtown and show that historic preservation is economic development. So this money is from community block development grants, so it's federal money, but it's funneled through Okra. So if we win it, when we win it, it'll come to the city of Newcastle. So I need you guys to be partners, and I know you want to, with Newcastle Main Street. And also that means that there's some money involved. Big
You're giving us
shocker.
money?
Big shocker. Well, yes, I was giving you $2 million. No, but what this does is to rehabilitate building facades downtown. It's like the BRAP on steroids. And the logistics of the program are that it would give the building owners who agreed to do this, they would have to put in 10%, and then they would get 90% paid for from this grant. And so not every building could participate, but quite a few could participate. So, yeah, it would rehabilitate and preserve historic buildings through a downtown revitalization. So that's the part that we need to partner together with, because I need the council to have a resolution saying that they would agree to pay for a downtown development grant. You get not me. So we had one done in 2010, and so it's out of date. They want one 5 years ago.
Vanderwall?
No,
Like-
it is Brenner Architects.
Okay.
I think it was under Mayor Small.
Oh, wow.
The last one,
Yeah, yeah, so.
That had to do with the Maxwell, specifically with the Maxwell Commons project. That's when they did that.
So, I'm happy to answer. Newcastle Main Street would have to agree to fundraise $100,000. Don't worry, it's separate from the city. So we would have to do $100,000 over 2 years. And then we would probably use part of the money from the BRAP, from the RDC, if they continue to give that to us as matching. So we have to come up with 10% of the $2 million. But right now, I'm just asking for the resolution. This grant is due July 13th, but we wouldn't have to do, I gave you a timeline too. The plan has to be completed by November 24th, the downtown plan. So we have time, and you're not committing, you're committing to commit to give money. If we don't get the grant, then.
Were there just one resolution or two? Is there one that says we're supportive of this effort? And a second one that says we're willing to do this study, or is it just one resolution?
I think it's just one.
Okay,
To do both.
to do both.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
One
So we just
resolution
put
to
them
do
all in
both.
one thing?
One, yes,
Okay.
correct, yes.
And is that something you have verbiage for already, or is that something we're going to allow Mr. Harvey to write up?
I think you're gonna, I worked with Okra, and they do not, they have a letter of support, but they do not have
Okay.
verbiage for us.
I think I can do something for you.
I figured you
Yeah.
could, but I
Yeah.
thought
You're
I'd
aware of
clarify.
it.
Yep.
Okay.
But do you guys have any questions for me?
Carrie, is there any projection if we were to be awarded this grant, how much that would build into the development downtown?
Well, so $400,000 for the initial BRAP turned into 1.2, maybe 1.35.
Good answer.
So, I don't know how to do math. Does that make you nervous to give me money? I don't know what that extrapolates out to.
About
I know.
6 million, wouldn't it? Isn't it about 3 times the,
So that would
You
be
can figure it that way.
an amazing investment in our downtown. And, oh, here's an exciting thing. I know it's all exciting, but there's only 37 communities that could go for this. And we've already, because of entitlements, so population over 50,000, is that right? So Kokomo, Noblesville, those places aren't, that's not a possibility for them. So we whittled it down to about 1 in 24. So we actually probably have a pretty good chance. Very nice.
Are there targeted structures right now at this point?
I mean, I have some ideas, but I don't know exactly how it all works out.
Do you have to specify targeted?
Eventually you do, yes. Yeah. But it's a while off. This doesn't get finished until December 26th, so it's a while.
But this could make a huge impact, no matter what buildings are targeted, in the stabilization of the remainder of our downtown that's not been affected by VRAP and so many things. So,
Yeah, and it can go for some government buildings and some, yeah, it can go for any building. So do I just come back next week?
Is there anybody opposed to having a resolution like this next week?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, in 2
There you
weeks.
go.
And do you have a source for the funding, or?
Oh, yeah. That's important. That is.
I guess that would be the only question I have, where you want the,
Oh,
how do you want to pay for it?
I think ARP money.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Do we need more time to look into that exactly, Rex, which fund to take it from, or
No, it's
certain on that?
It's pretty, it's fairly loose.
I think all they want is a commitments from us that they,
Right.
that we would
He's
He's
come up with
asking
it.
about whether ARP fund to take it out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think they care which fund it comes out of. They just want to know that we're going to make a commitment for it.
It
They
doesn't.
do need a letter
But
from
now it
Brenda
doesn't.
stating where
Money
it's
available.
coming
Because we'll be
from.
the,
Oh, okay.
and we'll be,
And you'll get
we'll
the
be the
money.
fiscal
You'll
agent
get the
for
money.
this.
Yes.
The money will come into our coffers, and then, almost like BRAP, it's gonna go then out to pay the bills.
So is this just a selected area of downtown, or is it in the tip area of downtown?
It's-
It's
Good question.
those sort of, Joel might be able to help me, those sort of overlay, it does not go past the railroad tracks though on 15, and it does not go past 11. The tip district goes, continues on, right?
Probably the
The
historic
tip district
preservation.
goes-
It's historic preservation.
If it's the, if
Yeah,
it's all
that's
about
what I
historic
got. That's what I meant, the
preservation.
historic preservation district.
It goes clear to Crown.
The tip.
Tip district, tip does, yeah.
But
So
it'll
this
only
would
be the
be-
main street.
Or did they add that
It'll
to
only be
the
the historic
acquisitions? I think maybe
preservation.
we did.
It might, yeah.
Yeah. Someone had
All right, thank you.
We're going to have to buy it.
It's a good question.
Okay, do we have anybody else that would like to come forward? Please.
It's been a minute since I've seen you guys, so
Now, you are Mrs. Mays,
I
right?
am Mrs. Mays all day long.
All right.
Leanne Mays. On May 19th at 3:10 PM, I was involved in a significant car accident at the intersection of Spring and 25th. I was on my way to pick up my son from school when a lady ran a stop sign and totaled my car. I was beside myself from shock and disbelief. I was hurt, angry, injured, sad. All the emotions a person can have, I had them. There were several officers and paramedics that came to assist me, and while I'm grateful for all of them, I would like to personally thank and recognize Officer Morrison for his kindness and compassion. He tried several times to encourage me to seek medical attention, but more than that, he took a genuine interest in the state of my heart. He was a kindness in the middle of a tragedy that I will always remember. My husband and I live our lives in the spirit of what Jesus asked us to do, to love one another and to never turn our faces away from the suffering of those that God has put in our path. I would like to thank Officer Morrison for not turning away in my time of need, and I will pray always that God protects him as he seeks to make our community a safer and better place.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else would like to come forward from the community? Okay, not seeing anybody, we'll move on to committee reports. So we'll start with Mr. Hancock.
A few things, Your Honor. I see Kenny Dale, Jeff's not here. I just, I had to inquire the house on 14th and Circle, what's the status of it? So I will get with them, and I had a phone call, or
The
do
one
you
on
know,
the
Mayor?
corner?
Yeah.
It's scheduled to be demoed.
Okay, I'll let them know, perfect, and all that. If I can meet with the traffic committee afterwards for about 5 minutes, would be great. Now I want to talk about the park and all that, especially Baker Park. The skate park's nice, they're adding the second phase, it's great. And of course, the basketball courts always look good, and the frisbee course is great. We're putting up new playground equipment. All looks great and all that. The swimming pool takes a little maintenance, but it always looks great. One of the best parks in this area, probably mid-state. Come to the pickleball park. It looks terrible. I'm ashamed of it and all that stuff. 8 years ago, Bill Maple approached me about the pickleball coming to Newcastle, and fastest growing sport in the South and all that. Looking at different areas, the old tennis court looked like the best area. Bill, John, and myself did a presentation to the park board with different members. They agreed to go ahead and proceed. And so we raised the money without taxpayers. It all was raised by donations. The following year, the court was paved, nets and courts were striped off. After 8 years, cracks, grass, the courts needed to be maintenance. After going to the park board several times, the court was repaired. What was the cost of that repair?
$12,000 or $13,000.
$13,000. Was there any warranty with it or anything?
Yes, and that's what they're doing now.
Okay, they came and spread concrete, and there's hills and things, and people are tripping, they're falling and all that. The season is probably 30% over. When are they gonna proceed, or has contact been made or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just as frustrated and upset as everybody else is. I would be the first one to say that, you know, I don't want to see that facility undone or unplayable. We have people playing on it every single day.
We have people falling quite a bit, afraid of an injury and all that stuff. They're afraid to host tournaments and all that. It's just a shame. There's people that go out of town playing tournaments. Richmond has a beautiful course. They hold 4 or 5 tournaments.
So last year when we had it resurfaced, the resurface didn't work. They came back in, tore up the fiberglass tape. This spring, they came back in and grouted it. I'm on the phone, email, and text messaging them every single day. Don't hear from them. Just recently, I heard that now they have confirmed that they're going to come back mid-July.
Mid-July, the season will be half over and all that.
I don't know
I'm
what to
old
say.
school. I'm old school. Blacktop, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here and all that, you know. This may be the new way of doing things. To me, it looks just like a flat roof going across there was striped off. And I feel like we wasted $13,000 and all that stuff. Could I have a show who's here about pickleball? These are tax-paying citizens, and they deserve a nice course. Shouldn't even be here, should have been took care of last year. Shouldn't even been done last year. When we'd seen the problem happen, it should have been took care of. Now, you got $1 million bond, is that correct? Was any of that for the pickleball, or was it all,
Not at that
everything?
time, because when we got it resurfaced and everybody enjoyed, and it looked like a brand new surface, and then over the winter, the fiberglass tape.
Yeah, it lasted
worked
about
it-
90 days, because they showed me pictures of it
Right,
coming
it
up
didn't
and
work
all the
correctly, so
seams
the
and all
company
that
came back
stuff.
and tried to repair it, and they're in the midst of trying to repair it. I've not heard back from them. You have to understand, I'm just as disappointed, as frustrated as everybody in this room. I don't want to have this conversation. Not that I don't want to have the conversation, I want the course
Right.
to be done. I mean, I've been on the phone, text messaging, and emailing the company. When they came back in the spring to pull up the tape, do the grout, to do the thing, that was the first time I heard back basically from them. At that point, I did not reach out to anybody else to come back in to do anything, because that company was coming back in to do their warranty work and try to get it back up
Yeah.
to pace. Now I haven't heard back from them until just recently. They said mid-July.
Well, the bottom line, it looks terrible. You know that. Park board's not here. They know that and all that. It's a shame that it had to come down to this. I hate to go searching for money when you had so much money bond and all that to redo that, to maybe put blacktop down or to do it right.
Well,
And
that's
all that.
typically the way you resurface a court. We resurface tennis courts, pickleball courts.
It's the exact same way we resurfaced the basketball court.
Well, I mean, companies come in, and that's the way you do it. I mean, if you have a company that comes in and resurfaces the court, that's what they do.
Well, I guess I'm old school and all that stuff, but they've lost part of last season. They've lost a lot of this season. A while back, they had 30 people wanting to play pickleball, and you know what the courts look like and all that stuff.
I mean,
We have people
understand your
going out of
frustration.
town. We got people going out of town to play pickleball and all that, and it should never happen. I think we're missing the boat on this. We're missing money and all that. And what happened to that blue table I asked for last year? I see it's missing too, for them to sit on and all that.
I took that over and put it on the, when we hosted the senior block party.
Uh-huh.
So it's just
Okay.
on the other side.
Okay. The other thing, a few weeks ago, I asked you about lights, and you said the park closed at 9 o'clock. I don't know if that's enforced or not. I know the skate park has lights, basketball courts have lights. Might be a security thing, but I don't know why we can't take some of those lights from Trojan Lane and put on the pickleball court too. If it's for safety and security and all that, and vandalism, they deserve the lights too, and all that stuff, so.
Well, we don't own the lights on Trojan Lane. We're gonna try to keep those lights, but
Okay.
I don't know that Duke Energy's gonna let
All
us
right.
that
It's
happen.
already been in the works to try to recoup or try to save some of those lights for other areas of the park, yes.
Okay. I'd like to open this discussion up to the council members, see how they feel about it. So, anyone want to take the lead or anything, or am I out of sight? Christie, yes?
It was just really odd, like how they split so quickly. It wasn't even 90 days, it was like 30 days and they just crashed. I'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, yeah, and they were the professionals, and then, you know, it was the strangest thing. It was like a material that we could just pull that back.
It looked almost like wall covering or something that they
It
put down.
really did.
It really
And
did.
it
I'm
looked
not
like-
knocking it, but.
It also, and I'm not accusing anyone, but it also looked like it was cut. I mean, it was a perfect, I don't understand it.
It's along the seam or something.
Right.
Perfectly straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, it was tape, the fiberglass tape to cover the cracks. because
Okay.
The cracks are gonna, if you see any cords, you've seen, I mean, cords crack all the time. And once they start cracking, you're never gonna fix them.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I guess that's where I'm old school on the blacktop, you know, is a lot better and all that, even though that's the way they do it today.
It is blacktop, isn't it?
Well, no, it was blacktop, then EB Paving put a coat on there, and it lasted 8 years, and the cracks came and all that. Now they just put some sort of, looks like fiber mesh or something, and all that stuff, and it's just, in the seams, it's peeling up and all that, so then they came by, it looked like concrete to me, I don't know what they used to fill it, but looks like they got speed bumps on the courts and all that stuff, so, and they're tripping, they're falling, they can't play, one of the courts is unplayable. It's just a shame that we have such nice parks and all that, and that seems like it's overlooked.
We also have trouble with the skate park kids too. I mean, it is what it is, the location, and I'm all for the skate park and the kids, but when we go at 7 a.m., we have to pick up all this trash before we can even start to play, and glass, and, you know, and that's just a part of the location as well, but that's glass, that's not safe, but.
I think, I can't remember if I mentioned this to you and Mrs. Broyles or not, but I got a pretty warm lead on a private donor who's a big pickleball fan, has Newcastle ties, and this isn't part of that conversation, but if it ever gets to that, I mean, I was talking with someone local who's connected to him, and agreed that would be a good route to go. Also, I've heard similar concerns from skate park goers about the glass and whatnot, and they attributed it to lighting, and it just kind of got me thinking that, you know, any seedy looking place is just asking for that kind of activity, whether it's, you know, drinking in a little sliver of space between the basketball courts and skate park or whatever, but it's something to consider too, just in that area as a whole, in terms of security.
I would like to see us, it sounds like that even, I mean, I don't know how anything really gets done quickly to our current course. I don't see how that's gonna happen. Because it sounds like Mr. Burton's, I mean, he's been in communication with the people, and they're not coming until July. But I would like to see potentially a committee, Mr. Burgum and a council member or two, and maybe Mrs. Pasman or somebody with a group of pickleball people, look into where, number one, where is the current location the best location, or if so, could it be moved to a different location? Whether that be a completely different location or potentially over into where the, you know, the end of the basketball court where it was used to be tennis courts, where it's asphalt now, or even a brand new situation. Because I'd like to see us have, instead of, you know, a couple of courts, I'd like to see us have maybe 6 to 10 courts, because it is a growing sport. It's, I think, the fastest growing sport in America. I hear of all these places having around us having pretty big tournaments, getting pretty big numbers of people coming in, and you know, it just seems to me like it's something our people want, our people take part in. I go out to Y and I look in the gym, and I don't know how many days a week, but there's all kinds of people in there trying to play pickleball in there. And it's not really the best situation, but they want to play. And I'd just like to see a committee come up with a plan for what pickleball might be in Newcastle. And then if we have that plan, then potentially maybe at that point we can sell it to somebody like Mr. Dickon is talking about, or a group of somebodies that would, you know, would come in and want to help us with that project. So I don't know if that's, is that?
Yeah, I think we're.
There's already been some thought about the location. Talked to Christie about it, and there's no plans. There's no financing, but there's some thought about, well, definitely a better location where it's at now. I don't think the location that's at now, I really don't remember a tennis court being.
Yeah, it was a
there
tennis court.
there?
I think
Back
tennis
behind the
court.
back, there was basketball court,
Yeah.
and there was.
And the property
tennis
looked
courts.
weeds
Well, there
growing
was tennis
out
court straight
cracks.
behind the basketball courts, but I
Right.
don't remember
Yeah.
that one off to the side. But
Where the pickleball
irregardless,
court
is.
it, I don't think the foundation was ever put in right for that. That's why we get the cracks. That's why it's just, it's not suitable for it. It wasn't built for it. I don't think that location
Well, it
is
was just an eyesore
good for
that we
anything or
picked out.
anybody. So
And
I
there's
think
thought
it's-
about, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's why it'd be good to have a group of people look into what a good location would be. And, you know, try to come up with a plan that then we can work towards. I mean, we can talk about it, but it doesn't do us much good. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Berger would be willing to talk to, you know, get a council member on board, and Mrs. Pasman, and maybe at least a citizen, just to, not that you're not a normal citizen, but a normal citizen maybe that's not. I know, I've known you for a few years, but another citizen that maybe is not as invested in it, you know, but is interested in pickleball, to come up with.
I agree.
Come up with some plans. If
I'd
you
be-
do that, Mike, would you do?
I'd be happy to help
I'd be
out.
willing to volunteer,
Yeah.
represent the council on that committee.
So,
Uh,
Can,
So-
can
so-
we,
Go ahead, sorry.
can we back up a second here? Mike, do you know what the company is planning on doing to try to fix this? Did I miss that, or?
I think, I mean, obviously, what they didn't work, so they came back in the spring, trialed in the cracks. They can't guarantee the cracks, because every time, they're just gonna continue to crack. That's not a fix, it's a putting, you know.
It's a patch.
It's a pothole, you know, so you're doing that.
Seems like
So
you're putting a Band-Aid on it.
They
not gonna work.
surface it at that point, restripe it, repaint it, it looks good for a little while,
Not gonna
and
work.
it's gonna start cracking and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Seems like that's a
I
Band-Aid.
mean, that's what we did that's what I did at the high school tennis courts every 6, 7 years. We always had to get it resurfaced. It's the same type of thing that happened every single year. You had to come in, you put a glorified Band-Aid on it, and then you cross your fingers for a while, and then you do it again in 5, 6, 7 years.
I mean,
it's
in
it's
that,
inevitable.
and that works temporarily. And I know you know this just from that experience. It works temporarily, but it does get to a point where you've just got to redo it.
Can't fix
Well,
it.
I mean, you just, I don't know, wrap up, Jim, if you would. The fact is that that location is not conducive to the environment of pickleball. There's no parking, there's no
Right.
mural-way, there's nothing to it. So when
Yeah.
you look at those things, you have to put a lot of amenities around a facility that will attribute to it, not
That-
just throw down a hunk of asphalt or concrete and stripe it and put some nets in.
Yeah.
That's
That
the
originally was a
situation.
tennis court though, years ago, because when we started doing that, they had the posts and partial tennis nets were there and all that
But
stuff. But it wasn't
therein
designed.
lies probably the reason it's in the shape it is in.
Right.
Because it's not brand new, it's not,
Right.
didn't have the right surface, it didn't have the right drainage, it didn't have the right grade.
Correct.
And it's built around, or skate park's built around it.
Right.
It's just,
Originally, I did get us several years out of it for
Sure.
you, anticipate some
Yeah, it was
problems.
impressive at first,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
but then when it went south, it was just like.
It went south quick.
Yeah.
Let's always take it on water.
Yeah.
From day one, it's taken on water.
Yeah.
Well, oh,
So they're gonna be,
I do, I
in-
bet you did for that.
they're gonna be in July, they're gonna
Did, but still.
repair it
I
then.
know.
that's the.
Supposedly, if not, then are we gonna get another company to come
Well,
in?
I mean,
Or what's our plans, I guess, to move
well, I
forward?
mean, the idea was, is when, when they came back in the spring, that was the initial, okay, they're coming back to fix it. I was happy that they were there, I was happy that they were moving, and then we haven't seen them since.
Yeah, a lot of companies, when they get the money, it's hard to get them to come back. Out of town companies and all that. So, I guess my question again is, if they don't come up, what's the next move? What are we gonna do?
Well,
I mean, they should have a deadline, then we should move forward with somebody else or something instead of.
It's a difficult business to get anybody in to come do it, first and foremost.
Yeah.
A couple of the companies that I used, particularly when I was at the high school, wouldn't even come look at it because they had hundreds of other, facilities that had 10, 12, 15 tennis courts, and things like that, so they wouldn't even put a bid in on it. So,
And I really don't want, I'm sure you don't either, I don't want us to chase good money after bad. And so, would you get this committee together and then maybe in 30 or 60 days come back with some ideas for us?
Sure.
In terms of what it would cost or where it can move or things like that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that good, ma'am?
Yeah. That's all I've got.
Okay, Mr. Walden.
I sent an email out earlier today from the last Eastern Indiana Regional Planning Commission. I don't expect you to have taken the time yet to look at it, but it was a meeting with a couple of federal officials. I gave the mayor a copy of the handouts for him and all that, but I'd like to ask where you take a look at that and see what we got here. Possible grant monies to do some projects around our city. So it is the PowerPoint that we got to see. And as I told the mayor, both representatives were willing to come and do a walkthrough with ideas that he has, that we have, and just kind of think about that as you go through it. And I knew it was going to be a tight schedule, so that's really, probably next meeting, bring it up for conversation after you look at the PowerPoint presentation. But they were very cordial and gave out a lot of good information, and some of the communities within the region are already putting them to use. So they are active people. They don't stay in their offices. They get out and see what's going on. When some, if the mayor has, I want to think about this project, can you come here and help me think about it? They want to go see the area that they're looking at doing things. The other thing, the area, the triangle there on 25th Street down by Vine Street, that grass is about 3 feet tall. It's getting to the point where it's probably a little bit dangerous. That's a dangerous intersection anyway, because you have 5 points coming into there. So if we couldn't get someone to check into that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Dave, could you give us an update on the paving that we talked about here before?
Phase 4 project, they're supposed to finish up the paving tomorrow or maybe Wednesday on what they've already milled. All the pipes have been laid. We still have some ditches where they laid the pipe that still got stone in it. Those still have to be dug out. We got to put a concrete surface in those. And then we still have to mill and pave those roads. But they're talking like Milestone will be leaving this week, but they may not be back for another 3 to 4 weeks to finish all those roads. As far as the community crossings, I don't have a schedule on that yet. But as far as that was phase 4. But when they come back, I want everybody to know that we're supposed to do Washington between Wilbur Wright and 16th. Apparently they didn't get the memo when they was milling over in the North 18th area, but that will get done when they come back on the second round. They're pretty much close other than restoration and paving on that last project. We're also winding down on the prison project. You guys know we put a new force main out there and a new water line out there, so we spent all day out there trying to do some bypass pumping out by the railroad on 200 North. Fiasco. We had a lot of trucks out there and a lot of men out there working all day. We got the bypass pumping done, so now they can get down. They can dig down on each side of the railroad. They can pull the old line out. There's a casing, a 24-inch casing under the railroad. We're going to extend that casing. The reason for that is right now the casing is still in the railroad right away. And so we requested to extend it, so if we ever have any problems out of it, we don't have to get the railroad involved. We can actually work on each side of the railroad for that reason. We did, when we dug it up the other day, it looked like that casing might have been, that last line might have been grouted in. We're hoping it's just on the very ends where they grout it, because we typically put spacers between the pipe and the metal casing that's around the pipe. So I hope it's not grouted all the way through, because that's going to be a challenge to get that old line out of there if it is. And we can't go to the other side because we have a water main on the other side of the casing, so we have to use the existing. But this week will be a big deal to find out where we get with that project.
What about the schedule on 16th Street? Are they pretty much on time or a little bit ahead?
You know, I've been so busy, I haven't got with the state and seen where they're at on that project.
They've just about got it milled. The north side of it is probably done today. They had half of it done by noon, so I would presume
On
up to
18th
Washington.
Street?
No, you said 16th.
16th.
So I'm talking about 16th.
Okay.
Yeah. They should have it done to Washington Street, but I don't know how far south it goes.
Because they brought in a bunch more pipes.
They were, I
Connectors.
think they were allowed 200 days when they started that, starting in
So
March.
they're busy.
They've got a lot of work to do there. We got some deep pipes too, put in the ground infrastructure.
And if you'd like to go walk around and see it, to the other council members, you can go through Greens Fork parking lot up through VFW to the alley, and you can walk around in different places and see what's going on, then you cross and go through the other alley and look at it. So if you stop and talk to the workers, as long as they're not real busy, they answer every question that you have. They've been pretty nice.
They're good guys.
Yeah, pretty nice. So that's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Dickin?
First and foremost, I'm contractually obligated to draw attention to the necklace that I'm wearing tonight, which is from Mini-City entrepreneur Austin Thompson, student at Wilbur Wright. I purchased this at Mini-City when I went to tour, and he paid me to wear it. So, thank you. In Mini-City dollars. Should clarify that probably. Secondly, just seemed like we had a pretty successful Pride celebration over the weekend, in line with what the Mays family, just because, and thank you for shedding some light on some positive stuff. We don't usually get to hear it, but I want to just thank the police department leadership and Officer Farr for taking care of things in an appropriate manner. I know that was very much appreciated by the organizers. And then lastly, just wanted to plug Juneteenth, because that's going to happen before our next meeting. It is June 17th and 18th at 1400 Plaza. Should be a great time celebrating our community. That's all I have.
Mr. Coker? Nothing. Mr. Purdue?
I'd like to give a public pat on the back to Dan and his crew for the cemetery this year, the way it looked. I walked through there several evenings a week, and I'm telling you guys, it is absolutely beautiful, the job that they did over there. So Dan, tell your crew thanks. They did a great job. And that's all I've got, Rex.
I had the cemetery on my list too. It looks beautiful. You're right. Okay, one thing, I saw Mrs. Brooks back there. The Chamber did another great job putting on the Memorial Day Parade. Eventually, the Memorial Day Parade may be a 2-day parade if we keep getting bigger. But they do a great job organizing that and keeping it running, and the ceremony beforehand there on the courthouse lawn. That's tremendous, honoring our veterans. The mayor spoke at that, did a great job. And, I don't know, it just makes you feel proud to be a part of Newcastle when you see not only that, but a lot of other things going on that are organized by our people. And it was mentioned at the last meeting, it's been mentioned a couple of times, there was a tree across the sidewalk on 14th, right before you go to the split between Cherrywood and 14th. That got taken care of early last week. Again, it takes time sometimes to get some things done, but I was really happy that Mr. Melton got that taken care of. And that's all I have, so I'll turn it over to you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything, Chief?
No idea.
Chief?
I got a couple things. The first thing is, I did see Assistant Chief Wardlow do some good community policing last week. Stopped at a lemonade stand, interacted with the community. I think it was just an excellent show of leadership and what our police department is for here in the city.
Right.
Second thing is, I'd encourage as many public and city council and the mayor, Wednesday, June 7th, 6 o'clock, the county council is having Baker Tilly review their 5-year plan and also the PSAP tax that we've been talking about. I think all the city council been contacted by the public safety department heads, by one of us, 3 sitting up here, about that. And that's going to be a hot topic coming down the pike. As the mayor, if you want to say anything else on that, but I just encourage everybody to be involved in that because that's a big decision for everybody in the county.
That Henry County
Henry
Courthouse.
County Courthouse, correct, 6 o'clock.
6.
That is a public advertised meeting.
Basically, what it is our 911 program, which the county is responsible to provide a 911 service for the whole county. Newcastle just happens to be in the county, just like Louisville, Middletown, any other community. The way that it's structured, literally, it's going to go broke at the end of 24 and into the year 2025. So our 911 system is a very important impact for our community. One of the workers at the 911 facility got an award this year. There was a 14-year-old girl that was going to commit suicide, and he literally talked her off the ledge to not commit suicide, and he talked to her for a long period of time on the phone until they could get help there to assist her. For 911 to go broke, if anybody remembers the day when there was a real telephone book, and you would open the telephone book and it would say New Lisbon, Caddis, Spiceland. If we don't have a 911 system, that's what you got to go back to. You would have to go back to the individual community that you're.
Numbers. There won't be anybody answering.
There won't be anybody, nobody would be answering 911. You would have to call direct to the fire station or to the sheriff's department for your area to get the right number to dial to. So this it really is not up to the city, but we offered to combine with them like we did the Lowett tax. If they wanted to have a meeting, it truly is up to the county. It's the county's obligation, but the city, it feels like having a 911 system is very important. and this is gonna be their major topic at their next meeting, that we want to support. I think it is very nickel a day out of your property taxes, a very small portion of tax that would provide 911 system for the next 20 years. Joel, you want to be more specific
Just
about
to
it?
elaborate a little bit about what you said, and I won't get too far into the weeds because this could take a while to explain it all, but the county council would have the ability to add a separate local income tax rate of up to 0.1% for public safety purposes, just for a 911 center. If the decision was made to try to go above that, I believe up to 0.12 could be passed as an additional portion of the county local income tax that goes to law enforcement. If that was the route that was chosen, it would require the county income tax council to approve it, which is all the fiscal bodies of all the units in the county. And if you get more than 50% of the votes from all the fiscal bodies in the county, you can pass the tax. Votes are allocated based upon population. So there are 100 total votes, and the city of Newcastle would have whatever the population of Newcastle is compared to the percentage of the population in the county would be the number of votes. So for instance, it would be 40-some%. The unincorporated areas would be another roughly 40-some%, or 30-some%. I don't have the exact numbers. But in essence, it would require both, from a practical standpoint, require both approval by this council and the county council if a rate in excess of 0.12 or 0.10 would be passed.
Basically, the only way we will have a joint meeting and a joint vote would be if they go to one.
If they go to a higher rate, it would be similar. I don't know if any of you were on the council at the time when the original local income tax for public safety purposes was enacted. It would
We've
be
had
similar.
Smith Auditorium.
Yeah, similar process to that. So you may or may not directly have a hand in that.
And you
So
should
in
all
your
have
911, go ahead.
You should all have those numbers of what that would cost each person based on their salary. If not, see me and I can get you copies of that.
So
Depending on the percentage.
what they're voting or entertaining Wednesday night is, it's in the same essence as lit or the exact same as lit?
It's similar to lit. It's a separate, I guess, local income tax. That you
So
could
they
add
can
in
divert
addition.
that amount
Correct.
just to 911?
Correct. Yeah, it could either be an increase of 0.1, which would go separately to the public, it would go separately just to the 911 system. Or if you go higher than that, it would essentially increase local income taxes, and that 0.12 addition would be allocated.
Is the amount that, is the percentage that they're entertaining enough to solidify that 911 for 20 years?
The .12 amount would do it for 20 years.
Yeah.
.10, I remember what paper said with me, it's 13-ish
11,
years,
12,
and then I
yeah,
think
something.
17 years for .11, and
Yeah.
20.
And I'm assuming Baker
2.
Tilly is included in that,
That's-
potential
they're gonna be,
raises, potential.
Yeah.
They've added a 3% increase each year at Baker Tilly's discretion or advice.
Yeah,
They
they've
pretty
run the
much put
numbers
the-
on all
Put the plan together. Baker
what those
Tilly.
projections would be.
And at that point, right now, how much do we contribute to 911 each year? How, what is that number now?
Yeah, $350,000.
So at that point, if that tax passes, then we put $350,000 back into our budget, the general
Yes.
fund, because we don't contribute anymore, it's
Right.
taken care of by tax.
But
Joe?
our citizens are paying for that.
Yeah,
Let's don't think we're not.
Oh, I'm not
right.
saying that's, I'm just saying that is one,
Yeah,
you know,
no, you're right, 100%, but
Yeah.
we're still paying for it.
because the county, theoretically, right now, we would not have to contribute because the
Absolutely.
county's responsible for it, but we do.
Yes.
Out of the kindness of our heart.
Yeah, out of the kindness of our heart, make sure you get that, make sure you get that.
Just so you get the
Out of the
officer
kindness of our heart.
ASAP.
Nobody's gonna believe me.
They
Joe?
know our hearts too good.
Oh, it's the kindness, right?
The kindness of our heart.
With that being a public meeting, could all of us attend that, or are we still under the threshold of,
Well, we can attend.
under a quorum?
Yeah.
We're not
We're not taking a
voting on it.
vote.
We'll be voting on anything at that meeting. if we have a
Yeah, I mean, I
combined
think for the
meeting.
information session, you could probably attend. If you have a combined meeting, then obviously that'll need to be,
Right.
if we're taking official action, then yeah.
But we could all show up if.
I think so, yeah.
Anything else on that? Any other questions from the council?
Thanks for bringing that up, Larry.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Anything
Mike.
else?
That's all.
Mike? Dan? Dave? Council?
I don't have anything else.
Brent? Ken? Done. That's it. Greg? Lee? Okay. One thing I want to say is that, man, we've had a great 2 weeks attendance-wise at the parade, at the events at 1400 Plaza. I don't know how many people we had at the Jack's Donut pole eating contest, but I wish we could get a count on that, but it had to be a couple thousand, I would think. It was a good crowd, a good turnout. Thanks, Carrie, for putting that on. That was a great first Fourth Friday. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to, we have no resolution, so we'll move on to ordinances. The first one is ordinance 3893, second reading, hourly salary. That's the amended salaries. I move we pass that on second reading.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenpfall.
Aye. Our next.
Could we
ord-
just go ahead and suspend the rules and finish that up?
If you want to.
Yeah, I'd like to
You
make
can.
a motion to suspend the rules of 3893, third reading.
Second. Okay, moved and seconded to suspend the rules on ordinance 3893. Roll call vote.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenpfall.
Aye. Okay, do I hear a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion for 3893, third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Hearing no discussion, roll call vote.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenpfall.
Aye. 3893 passes. That brings us to ordinance 3902, first reading. And this is an ordinance amending the schedule of fees for Newcastle South Mound Cemetery and West Lawn Addition. Whereas Chapter 91.01B of the City Code establishes rates and charges for burial space and burial in South Mound Cemetery. And whereas a columbarium for the housing of funeral urns has recently been constructed on South Mound Cemetery. Whereas the schedule of fees and charges needs to be amended to include a charge for the permanent housing of a funeral urn in the columbarium. Now therefore be ordained by the Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana, that Chapter 9101B of the City Code shall be amended as follows. A new section, Chapter 90.01B, parentheses 4, shall be added to the City Code and shall read as follows. A space in the columbarium will cost $1,400. Any provision of the Chapter 9101 of the City Code which is not expressly amended by this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. I move we pass ordinance 3902 on first reading.
Second.
Any discussions or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on that.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Covert.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenpfall.
Aye. Okay, I think we've completed our business, so anything else, John?
If you'd like to stop by and look at that, it's beautiful. Dan's put that together. It's where the old parade used to end, and they would do the ceremony there. New roof, the columbariums are just absolutely beautiful. I'm anxious to get some benches out there and sell a few of them. That's growing in America also, as not as many people want to be buried as they do want to be cremated. So this is the first time that we've really had the opportunity to be able to service that. Would you like to say anything, Dan?
We've got 2 of them in. I've got 2 more coming in July. That's, you don't know really now, but when they say they'll be there, you don't know for sure whether they're or not. That's
How many of those 2 service though? I mean, the
192 total. How many be the total of all 4? Right now, we're at 96.
Y'all stop by and look at it. It looks really good.
I'm gonna have 4 granite benches put in the same color as the hollow bearings. Once we get it all landscaped and everything, it should look pretty nice, but it's still in process being done.
Appreciate all you do, Dan.
You know, Mr. Mayor, driving through there, I noticed Newcastle has roundabouts in there.
Yeah.
That's where a roundabout is. Okay, well, we'll adjourn.